Same there. That was a very good miss. Really, really good miss. Again, even though you missed the technique there, that was your best technique the whole match. Do you see that? Like the rotation was stable. From where you started to where you finished, I can draw a straight curve between those 2 points and there's no tangent where it goes off. But I bet if you had made contact with the ball, you then wouldn't have finished up here. You would have pulled to the side and made a mistake. Yeah, same on the elbow there. It's almost good. It's fine, it's fine. You make contact, and then the second you make contact, the elbow comes up, and the paddle finishes here. If you had swung and missed, I bet your paddle would have been up here. So it's just a muscle memory thing. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and welcome to a brand new VOD review. Before we get started today, I have a quick announcement I want to make. I'm trying to make a few videos, they're planned for the next couple months or so, that are aimed at reaching a more general audience, people that don't really know much about table tennis, to try and get them interested and grow the sport, get some new players playing. And these videos are going to have a more beginner-oriented topic. So, for example, I'm planning a video called So You Want to Start Playing Table Tennis, where I'm basically going to from scratch give a guide on how to get started playing as a beginner. I'm also planning a comprehensive equipment guide. There's a couple others that I'm planning as well. So for these videos, it'll be a lot of commentary, and I'll need clips of table tennis as I'm making these videos. And I have plenty of clips of myself playing, but it's not an unlimited supply, and I can't record as much as I'd like to currently. One, because my work schedule is really difficult, so it gives me little time to go to the club and record. And two, I have a little bit of an injury right now, which also makes it, when I do have free time, more difficult to go to the club and actually train properly. So if you all have any videos, whether it's a match, a highlight reel, practice, a bloopers reel, whatever it may be, as long as it's not dead space, as long as it's not like 5 minutes of you just picking up the balls, you can upload it to this Google Drive folder. And if you do, there's a chance that I will use your video or your clips in my video. And this is totally voluntary, it's totally optional. Of course, if you do this, it would be super appreciated and it would help me out a ton. I'll give you credit in the description, so you're gonna get credit for the clips you upload, but there's not gonna be any monetary or other forms of compensation. It's totally voluntary. But again, if you are willing to do this, I think it would be super helpful. It'd be super cool because it would basically give me an unlimited supply of clips. And if you have a clip that you want to share, it may give you a chance to have that clip reach a wider audience. So this might be a terrible idea. It might be a good idea. I just wanted to see how it goes and experiment. And then also, as you can see on the post, I'm looking for a couple suggestions on ways I can make these videos appeal to as many non-table tennis players as possible. So like as someone who's never heard of table tennis, how can we get them interested in the sport? How can we get them to grow how can we get them signed up? How can we get them to their local club? And how can we make it less scary? Because people are intimidated when they go to a club and they don't know anybody and they don't know who to practice with or how to figure stuff out. So I'm trying to deal with these two things, and again, just widen the appeal of the sport, make it bigger. I really want to see the sport grow. So anyway, that's all for the announcement, and now back to the VOD review. Now for today's video, we are going to be looking at a match from Alvin Kolkolo. He uses the Waldner Legend Carbon, Hurricane 3 Neo on the forehand, and Sunway Target National Blue Sponge on the backhand. Intermediate level player, no rating, so I'll take a look. Consistency in attacks and more aggressive serve returns. I'm assuming this is the things you want to look for or work on. I struggled to be aggressive in returning serves, making my opponents attack first. I would love to be consistent in my attacks too. I'm a one-sided attacker since I mostly use my forehand to finish points. I want my backhand to be as strong as my forehand. Okay. Training 2 to 3 hours every weekday. That's amazing. That's really, really good level of practice. Friendly matches, no proper multi-ball. There are lots of players waiting, so we need to score it so that others can play too. And video link, you are the one playing with white. Okay, sounds good. Let's take a look. And So everyone watching at home, I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. I've watched the first couple points just to get a feel, but other than that, I haven't watched much. But let's go ahead and see what we got. Nice. Really good. Okay. That's fine. Very nice forehand. So there is an issue with your technique on the backhand, and I can immediately see why it's less consistent than your forehand. You don't finish your form all the way on your backhand, and even so, I'm going to show you the first 5 points again, and even the ones you won, you didn't quite finish your shot. So this first one, he serves. I'm going frame by frame. Your paddle starts below your elbow, which is correct. And then you don't quite follow through. You can see you kind of make this semicircle with the shot. Watch it again. So you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. And then you stop, and the paddle suddenly starts going down right here instead of continuing to rotate. So you lose stability because you lose topspin, and the shot lands, but it's not as clean as it could be. And then the forehands here are amazing. The forehands look great. And then second serve, I don't think you played a backhand here, did you? Maybe you did. Yeah, so serve came to your backhand. Same. Your paddle starts below your elbow. That's fine. And then instead of rotating, you end up pushing up and forwards. And the way to gauge this for yourself is there's a few things you can use to check this. And for what it's worth, this is not something you can fix during a match. This is something that you have to fix in practice via repetition because it's part of your muscle memory. But you have a fixed distance between your elbow and your body when you start your shot. When you finish your shot, the distance between your elbow and your body should be relatively the same. It might move a little bit more forwards, but it shouldn't be moving way more up. So if you start your shot at one point and when you finish, you notice your elbow is now way higher and way out in front of your body, that means that you've used your shoulder to push forwards instead of rotating through the pivot point, which is your elbow. Another way to gauge it is just the amount of bend in your arm. If you start with a set bend on your arm and you finish with the same amount of bend, you've probably played the shot correctly. If you start with a set bend and by the time you finished your shot, it's much straighter, there's much less bend in your arm, again, that's a sign that you've kind of pushed forwards with your shoulder and extended instead of rotating to get as much topspin. Another way you can check it is the height your paddle starts and finishes in relation to your elbow. If your paddle starts below your elbow and finishes above your elbow, then you've rotated. If your paddle starts below your elbow and finishes at the same height, or it finishes and it's still below your elbow, that means you've pushed. And here, your paddle is not high enough above your elbow. And you can see your angle is even open instead of closed because you've pushed up with an open angle instead of keeping the angle closed and rotating. So this is just something that we need to work on in practice, and you'll see it now that I've pointed out. Hopefully you see it on all these backhands. It's just not quite a full rotation. You don't finish your form all the way. It's a great forehand. So there again, it's like a half shot. You don't complete your rotation. You have to trust yourself. You start, you're fine, keep rotating, but you don't, and you push. And then the paddle starts coming down. That's the issue with the technique. That's fine. If we go back to the first point in the game, you got a similar ball, and you ripped it. Then you ripped it again. Now we go to, I think it was like 25 seconds in. Similar opportunity, but you play super passively on this. And you won the point, but I know from the first shot that you have the ability to play more on that. And the question is why? And that's just something consciously you have to be aware of. Always be in the attacking mindset, especially on your bread and butter shot, which is the forehand. That's fine. Very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, same pushing. Especially that last back end. Watch it again. Again, this is something we'll have to fix. You'll have to fix in practice, but your paddle is extending too much forwards instead of rotating. And that's why the back end is so inconsistent. If you look at your forehand technique, you're always rotating. You're always brushing the ball. Your paddle is, for the most part, finishing by your left eyebrow. It's very, very consistent. Your paddle finishes above your elbow. It's nice and stable. We need the same type of rotation on the back end. Yeah, again, need more power on that forehand. Great spin. Nice shot. Nice. It's fine. That's fine. Not bad. So on the forehand there, almost the same problem. You didn't quite finish your form. So you started, footwork is fine. You're rotating, but then you stop and you start like pulling the paddle backwards. Continue that rotation. Take it all the way. It's going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but it's the way to land the shot. You have to finish your form. All the way to your left eyebrow. Continue that rotation. You tend to like rotate to the point of contact, and then once you've made contact with the ball, you push or pull back. Once you've made contact with the ball, continue that rotation. Keep rotating up and forwards. And again, your paddle should never be finishing like this on the forehand. It should be nice and stable. And for the most part, your forehand has been stable. But that's the reason you missed there. Oh, chicken wing. That's called chicken wing. That's when you play your backhand and the elbow is so high. This is called chicken wing. You don't want this. Either forehand or again just focus on the height of the elbow, because the reason this happens is because you want to push, and you can see that's just super wonky. I'm sure you see it in hindsight. Just highlights the issue. Very nice. That has to be looped. So, something I'd like you to practice when you're just training that'll help with this is, and you'll have to find a practice partner that's very stable for blocking, but basically you want to do one loop that's super spinny, they block it to your forehand, and then you do a second loop, and you try to keep the power on both loops the same. Because right here, this shot has to be attacked. That has to be killed. And instead, you kind of play passive, and it allows your own spin to bite back at you. And again, the technique, again, it feels so unnatural if you haven't practiced it, but you have to just trust your technique, keep your elbow stable, and rotate. But aside from that, the other issue is you just waited way too long to attack. Same. Look at the technique on the forehand. It's good sometimes. It's really bad other times. So everything else is great. Your tactics are great. Your positioning is good. It's technique, and that's very rare for me to say that. Most of the time, it's something else. But you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You start rotating, fine, and then you stop, and you start pulling your paddle across your body. You stop rotating, and so you miss in the net. If I go frame by frame. Okay, I'll draw it on here. You're rotating along this curve. If you follow that curve with the same angle you started with, you should be finishing right here. But if we watch, you follow it, and then right here, your actual curve breaks. And you pull to the side. And so you lose all the topspin. And you miss in the net. And you can see your paddles right here. So this is the issue on both the forehand and the backhand with the technique that is making the shot less stable. So if we can fix this, I think your level is going to increase a ton, because it's a relatively simple fix, but it's a confidence thing of being aware of this issue so that you can fix it. Yeah, same. Look at the elbow. I might not need to watch much more just because it's everything else is good. Oh, this is fine. Paddle starts below the elbow, contact, and then the second you make contact with the ball, you started here. This is your optimal rotation for the shot. It's not perfect, but that's how you would need to rotate to keep it stable. You almost follow that plane, and then again, right here, do you see the shoulder comes up, the elbow stays fixed, and your paddle is now here instead of finishing out here with the elbow still being down here. So you need to use your elbow as the pivot point to continue to generate topspin. And I know you mentioned, did you mention you have a coach? Or no? Okay, so just when you're practicing, I'll put it in your notes, but I'll give you some exercises to do, but that's the big issue right now. I'm gonna keep watching. If it's the same mistake that I've already mentioned, I'm not gonna say anything, and if I notice anything else, I'll point it out. But I don't think there's much more. Yeah, your fundamentals are perfect. Little flat on the forehand, but that's fine. Nice. Your game is good. Yeah, flat on the backhand. That one was the last one especially. Again, watch where you finish. Look at this. This is why you're missing the net. You're pushing to the point where your arm is locked and it's straight, and your shoulders aren't square, and your paddle is literally pointing like to the side this way instead of forwards towards the opponent. So again, it just comes down to using your elbow as the pivot point on the backhand. Ooh, again, the elbow. Yeah, that needs to be hit. I told another one of my students this. It may have been my last VOD review, but as a rule of thumb, if you push long, so fine, you don't want to attack the third ball because it's a little uncomfortable. If you push long, like you did right here, and your opponent does not loop, always loop that next ball without fail, without question, because it is a guaranteed long ball. Unless you're playing a very, very, very good player. If you push long and they do not loop, you have to attack that next ball because it is the most predictable shot you can get in table tennis. It will always come long. It will always have light underspin on it. Funnily enough, I know it sounds really counterintuitive, but against this serve, because he's moving this way early, and I noticed this a few points ago, you'd probably win the point if you went down the line. The other thing to consider doing this, because his momentum is going this way, if you play down the line and it doesn't win the point, he's gonna return it most likely cross court, which then goes right into your forehand, which is your bread and butter. So if you're playing someone and you have a better forehand than them, don't be afraid to challenge their forehand because yours is better. So challenge the forehand, get into that rally, and you'll be so much more comfortable. But instead you're going backhand, and then it kind of sets you up for failure because that's your weaker shot. Yeah, tentative, but that's fine. Yeah. More spin, more spin. And the way to get more spin is, again, what I was talking about earlier. That rotation is the way for more spin. But like right there, the shot that landed, I don't know if that landed, but the technique here was good. Like you started, you rotate, you rotate, and you continue. And you go just about to your left eyebrow. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. I can't tell if it landed or not, but regardless, the technique there was good. Same there. That was a very good miss. Really, really good miss. Again, even though you missed the technique there, that was your best technique the whole match. Do you see that? Like the rotation was stable. From where you started to where you finished, I can draw a straight curve between those 2 points, and there's no tangent where it goes off. But I bet if you had made contact with the ball, you then wouldn't have finished up here. You would have pulled to the side and made a mistake. Yeah, another footwork drill I'd like for you to work on, I'll put this in your notes, is the forehand wide after you open with the backhand. Because you have the ability to play the shot, and it's just not in your muscle memory. Yeah, same on the elbow there. It's almost good. It's fine, it's fine. You make contact, and then the second you make contact, the elbow comes up, and the paddle finishes here. If you had swung and missed, I bet your paddle would have been up here. So it's just a muscle memory thing. Yeah, I think I've got my notes for you. So I'm gonna cut it there. Let me go type up the notes and I will be back. Alrighty, I've got my notes for you. So on the backhand and the forehand, your biggest issue is the technique. We need to have you finishing your form way more consistently. And there's ways you can gauge this. On the backhand, did the paddle start below your elbow and finish above your elbow, basically to where the elbow was the pivot point? If yes, that's good. If no, then something was messed up with the technique. Did your elbow finish way higher than it did when you started the shot? If no, that's good. And if yes, you, again, messed something up with the technique. And how different is the bend in your arm when you finish the shot? If this bend changed a ton, again, something got messed up with the technique. Now for the forehand, can I draw a consistent line or curve from the spot you started your rotation to the spot you finished? If yes, that's good. If no, then you probably contacted the ball and then pushed or pulled your arm to the side. And are you finishing by your left eyebrow? If yes, that's good. Again, if you're finishing by your shoulder or lower or behind your body, then you probably messed something up with the technique. Now, for practice, there's a couple drills that I want to give you. First is 2 backhand, 2 forehand. If you're with a right-handed practice partner, all 4 of these shots go into their backhand, and they'll just block 2-2, so your forehand will be down the line. And on the forehand especially, I want you to focus on no passive shots. So move and then keep a consistent level of power on every forehand, and eventually this will translate to match play, to where when you get that forehand out wide, you'll instinctually play a more powerful ball and give yourself more initiative. And the other thing I want you to do is, against underspin, you loop against underspin to a right-handed practice partner's forehand, they block, and then you loop this block with an equal or more power than your initial loop. So no soft balls, but focus on keeping the technique crisp. So focus on this stuff up here to do that. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. To everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, as always, please leave a big thumbs up. Leave a comment if you have questions, and if you're interested in some free coaching, then check out my Discord server for details on that. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.